Well, the question we've been getting asked day in, day out at the moment is why we didn't chop the car, are we going to chop the car, and would we have done anything suspension-wise different if this thing was cut in half? Now, given the level of utter bastardisation we've done to this thing with Matt and the team here at Kinsella's Customs, I figured he's an expert enough in the subject to help shed some light on what his thoughts and opinions are on Ute Chops and whether we've done all the wrong thing and we should have actually cut this car in half.
Yeah, I think we've captured that already.
Don't
do what you did.
Yeah, correct. Now, before we dive into it, over on the Instagram, we have got a $12,000 giveaway. It's going live tomorrow from the day of upload of this episode. So, if you're watching now, go check out the Instagram, it's probably live. But in order for you guys to be eligible, you have to be subscribed to this YouTube channel. So take a moment now and do that. We're giving away some sick stuff, custom steering wheels, Maxxis tyres, rims, Darchie gear, all sorts of stuff from Bushdorf. It's really, really cool. The next thing is I'm an idiot and forgot a jumper and it is about -7 degrees here. So I've just dropped a whole bunch of new merch on my website that I don't even have. So if you want to stay warm this winter, go check that out at samyoung4x4.com. Now, I reckon we dive in. I've got a list of questions on my phone that I want Matt to answer. I'm going to try and answer them and we're going to try and basically give you guys the answers you want or not. I don't know. We'll just sort of see what happens.
So this is what basically the 80 series frequently asked questions.
Pretty much. This is, you know, when you get carried away with an 80 series and the internet goes, you should have done it this way, you should have done it that way, and we have to justify it for some reason.
Yeah.
But here we are. I think you guys know what my thoughts are on Ute Chops, having had one for a couple of years and gone and done one and done that to an 80 series. But I think we should get Matt's thoughts and opinions on Ute Chops in general, whether it be, you know, Toyota, Nissan, whatever it might be, and what your thoughts and feelings are, because it's a very polarizing topic.
Yes, there's people who are 100% for it,
They love
and
them.
also 100% against it.
Big time.
I feel like, for me, it's probably a bit of both, depending on your setup.
Okay.
If you've got a car, like say this 80, you've had it for years, you've been spending a lot of money on it, and then you decide you need a ute, it probably makes sense to, you know, chop it,
Chop it
get
in
someone
half.
to sort that out, put a tray on it,
Yep.
and you keep all your mods.
Yep.
If you're starting out, people smarter than us have already built utes.
This is true.
So it might be a bit easier to just get a ute and build that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can get a GU, it's already a single cab if you want a dual
from
cab.
the factory.
There's plenty of dual cabs out there that are quite good.
Yep.
The only downside is if you do need something that's going to be quite tough like what you've built,
Yeah.
then maybe it might still be easier to just do a salt axle conversion or something like that to
Yeah.
Hilux.
Yeah, big time.
But yeah, I think utes and wagons both have a place. I'm more of a guy who thinks leave it how it was.
Yeah.
If it was a ute, leave it a ute. If it's a wagon, leave it a wagon.
Yeah, I
Especially
agree.
if you're building it in a budget.
Yeah.
Like if you've got a budget to build the whole car and you throw most of that money into chopping into a ute, the rest is going to be sacrificed,
Yeah.
which probably didn't need to happen.
Hugely.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons, and this is the question that you guys have been asking, is why I didn't go out and straight away chop this car and sort of just build the naughty 40 again, sort of cookie cutter, I guess.
Yep.
And the biggest restraint, I think, and I know for some reason people out there think that YouTubers have infinite funds and billions of dollars and it pays really well.
Well,
But
that's true.
I'm actually broke as so there's that. So the first thing was cost.
Yeah.
Now, cost is the biggest thing. Obviously, chopping the car and painting the cab and engineering it for that ute conversion is probably what? It's usually in excess of 20 grand.
Yeah, especially to get someone quality to do it. Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of guys that could do it for you, you know, a bit of a rush job.
Yeah.
But the guys who've been doing it for years, reputable companies,
Yeah.
it's big money for a reason.
Hugely. And I think there's a big difference between cheaply, quickly done chop and a expensive, you know, time taken chop.
Like the guys
whether
chopping the
it's-
300s and stuff like that.
Cab vents, you've got, you know, all the infill panels and where you've cut out, your resound deadening the rear wall, you're putting a piece of factory glass in the back so that if it was ever to smash, it's
You can
easy
get another
to
one.
replace.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of forethought that's gone into it versus the cheaper ones. Then you're just left with a cab chassis. Then you've got to go out and come to Matt, or you've got to go to Mitts, or you've got to go to G-Works and spend however much money you can possibly imagine on a tray and a canopy just to make it
What you had.
a wagon.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, for example, the mitt setup on the old car was probably $30,000 to $40,000.
Yeah. Tray, it had a canopy,
Had a
all
tray,
electrics
had a
in
canopy,
it.
had electrics, had the water tank and a trundle drawer and that sort of thing.
All the things people expect these days.
All the things that people expect, but it was still pretty much only the same amount of usable space, and I could actually only fit the same sort of stuff as I could when the car was a wagon anyway.
Yeah.
So you've basically gone out and spent 60 grand on the chop ute canopy for it to be the same sort of usable car as a wagon. So that, I think, was one of the biggest reasons why we didn't go out and chop this, was because I just, to be honest, simply couldn't afford it. We do actually have to pay for stuff. I know, right? Unbelievable. I have to pay.
I'm sorry.
I know. But anyway, that's fine. Let's just take my bank account and ruin it. The next was uniqueness. I know this is a little bit of a wanky one, but cutting this exact same car that you guys had seen on the channel for years.
And have seen elsewhere.
I've seen elsewhere on other channels and had done the build series before. It wasn't going to be that interesting to just do the same thing again. So doing a wagon build, I think, and a really cool staunch wagon build with this sort of suspension setup was going to be a little bit different. And I guess
very different. Yeah.
I like presenting that with nothing but headaches. And I don't think...
And you've come through with that.
Yeah, I don't think he's done a wagon build that's as, for lack of a better term, silly as this before.
Yeah.
So
yeah, most people a bit more responsible, I think.
And the last one we've sort of already touched on, but was like situational. Now, I say this in a sense that the last car had a shark bite out of the D-pillar. The side, like, it genuinely looked like someone had shot a bowling ball out of a cannon, and it had munched the sliding window frame, the entire D-pillar, and the tailgate. It had folded a lip into it. It didn't take much. It literally just lightly let into a root and just caved the back of the ute in. And thankfully, the car at that time, entire bodywork was fed. There'd been flares ripped out of doors and it needed painting. So that's sort of when we just went, you know what, instead of painting an entire wagon and fixing this D-pillar.
Which was a big job.
Because
even the tailgate was dented, wasn't it?
Yeah, the tailgate was dented. This sort of sliding window frame was all cuffed as well. Plus, fixing a structural pillar is like, you
not
can't
a small
just
job.
bog it up and send it. Because
Yeah.
if you ever actually do roll the car, it's just going to crumble. So that
but
was
you're
sort of
driving,
why.
it's probably going to happen.
It's highly likely.
Yeah.
It's highly likely. So this car, when we bought it, one owner, all original, immaculate, gorgeous. It needed to stay a wagon, at least for now. To answer the question of will we chop it, I think now that we've gone ahead and done the suspension like we have, it doesn't matter what's on the back, whether it's a cab or whether it's a tray, because the suspension can now stay the same, and we haven't compromised that to suit the wagon.
Yeah,
or
it's
vice
not like
versa.
if we did the ute chop first, the suspension will be different.
Correct.
The coilovers come through the floor. They wouldn't be any higher if it was a tray.
Exactly.
Any higher, they probably would prevent the tray being useful.
Yeah, I agree.
So regardless, the suspension would be exactly how it is now.
Exactly.
We've
So
cut
I think
everything out of the way.
on the
way.
we had to move some things around in the back, but it's all good. You know, it's all worked out well. I think, will we ever chop it? Maybe. Never say never. I love 80 utes. I had one. I still miss my naughty 40 every damn day, and I love how it looked and everything. But only if I have a reason to.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've got to think about is I've got a dog. I've got a 55 kilo Rottweiler who is as tall as I am, and he doesn't fit in the front seat. So having him in the old naughty 40 was always just a headache because he was uncomfortable. So,
but don't dogs go on the tray?
Dogs can go on the tray. I don't know. He's a big dog, and I had a small tray, so he would be the entire tray.
But you had a dog box.
Yeah, true. An airtight dog box. It'd be a really quiet trip for him after about 30 seconds. Pros and cons for the suspension, in a sense that with the keeping it a wagon, the pros and cons of the suspension we've done, I think.
Well, there's a definite con.
The pros are very quick. There's none.
The con is what? The boot space.
It's space in the cab for the towers.
Yep.
I reckon it's space to the floor with the upper truss.
Yeah, because it's close.
It's very close. We have to think about that. So we obviously have to make sure that we had enough space at full bump that the upper links weren't going
also
to
through
just
the floor.
punch a hole in the floor and that sort of thing.
That wouldn't be a nice thing if it was hitting you on the seat.
That would be bad. The back rows. What is that? Don't worry about it. So there was that. We obviously, now I originally thought this could have been just a stupid SAM project problem, and put down fuel tank delete. But we've since decided that I think in pretty much any car, especially 80 series, if you fall into the rear, you're going to lose the main tank regardless, unless you have like 4-inch long leaks.
Yeah, the only car I think it wouldn't happen is a Patrol, because they've got their main tank at the back.
Okay, gotcha.
But every other car, their main tank, even if they have two,
is usually
at the front there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a problem for anyone who gets a 4-link.
Yeah, big time. So obviously a 4-link, these links are about 4 or 5 inches longer than a factory one. With the triangulation and stuff, the tank is just not going to fit.
in the way.
By the time you pull it out and modify it and do all that sort of stuff, it's just not worth it. You're going to lose too much capacity, and you're going to have to think about an alternative fuel solution anyway. In the rear, you can probably keep the factory tank in there if you wanted to. Obviously, we've integrated the tow hitch into the rear bar and then put some bracing in there. But the rear tank in an 80 series is also only like 35 litres. So
you need something else anyway.
you need something else there anyway.
Especially if you're an FZ.
big time, especially if you're going to have an E85 900 horsepower said.
Yeah.
That will only let you idle for a minute, 30
Yeah.
litres pretty much. So finally, to wrap this up, would you recommend someone else doing this to their wagon out there?
I think I would. Probably not to the extent we've done. Like if you took pieces of your build and included them in a new project, it would be good.
Yep.
To do them all, like as a collective, it's a bit problematic. Yeah, it's a huge undertaking.
There was a point where we had the body off on the hoist, the front clip over here, chassis at the blasters, all the bar work and diffs over here.
Yeah, it's a huge job.
A monumental task.
Yeah, I think if you full link the back of an 80, it's going to drive heaps better. You're going to get better like handling characteristics, more clearance, a whole bunch of things. That's going to be good.
Yep.
But with the coilovers you've gone to try and keep them on top of the diff, you know, compromising the floor like that and doing all the internal things as well makes it a big job.
Yeah.
But full linking it alone, good idea.
Yeah.
Coilovers, also a good idea if you kept them in a similar mounting to the factory shocks.
Yeah, gotcha. So like sort of down nice and low.
Yeah, where they do hang down
diff.
under the tubes, unfortunately. But to do both makes it a bit of a project, unless it's a ute. Then if it's a ute, it's not an issue, is it?
It's sort of easy because you can just mount them wherever you like.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess you could do just a shock and coil in the back with a 4-link.
Yeah, 100%. Or airbags. Airbags I'm in
Airbags
too,
as well, and that would
underrated.
be a way more cost-effective way. There are definitely options. Kinsella and the team here sell all the sort of kits. You can do them at home. You can bring your car here. You can have coilover towers done up. You can have the flipped arm kits sent out. So if you do want to get freaky with your own 80, which I highly encourage because stock cars are boring.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an 80. We do everything.
Yeah,
we've got a Rodeo on the hoist at the moment.
Ew. We won't talk about that. But yeah, jump online, jump on the website because you'll be amazed at actually the products and the kits and the parts that are available here through the team. But anyway, hopefully that answers your questions. Thank you very much for gracing us with your knowledge and also for letting me house this box here for so long. And just a reminder, Instagram giveaway, it's going live in 24 hours time. It's probably already live by the time you're watching this, so make sure you subscribe to be eligible. Check out the new merch. Follow Matt and the team at Kinsella's if you want to get freaky with custom suspension, and we'll see you next time.